We'll wait for some thumbs up. Can you hear me? Nothing?
Yes.
Yes?
Maybe. No, mine doesn't act like it's on.
Okay. We're going to wait. Let's get a little, hello, hello. Can you hear me now?
Mine's on.
I think it's the
Yours
phone mic,
hasn't.
not the external mic, he says. So check your...
Okay. I'm going to do this.
Give it a shot. Hey, can you hear me now?
No, no, your mic is not picking up, not registering.
Hey.
I don't know why.
Okay, we're going to do the unplug, replug. Can you hear me now?
No, it's not picking up over here. Okay, so you're going to use mine.
Is yours picking up?
Yep. Okay, there you go.
I can hear you through the phone. It's
Here.
the phone mic, totally, he says.
Okay, then
So
go ahead and flip. Go ahead and plug in mine that works, and then I'm going to.
Okay. Give it a shot. Really, we try something new.
Should be fine.
Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, I'm going to give it a shot here. Okay. Can you hear me?
Okay, now maybe.
That's what I was afraid of. All right, I think so. Haha, it sounds about the same. So I think it might be coming through the mic.
Okay.
In the phone. So
we're close.
We'll stay really close to each other today. Yeah, the technology. We've been doing this for 2.5 years now, and technology still gets me every time. I swear to God.
Well, maybe if I had decided to get clever and decided we should start the shot out by the river, you know.
Yeah. It's beautiful. All right, let's try this again. Hey, everybody, we're here. It's Sew Together Tuesday. I'm Teresa Coates. I'm the National Educator for Shannon Fabrics, and we are here in Maine, which is why we started down by the river, and we wanted to show you this lovely area. So we're staying at a friend's house in middle of Maine, and central Maine, I guess is how you describe it. And so we are here visiting, and we decided it was such a beautiful day. We might as well do the show outside. We're doing a special series of shows this week because we're going to work all the way through a My Lambie kit, which we'll get to, but it's this guy right here. Okay, so we're going to be here for the next 3 days. So we are actually going to work through this project. So if you have the kit, this will be the perfect week for you, because what we're going to do is we're going to work through it kind of like it's a workshop with me. So just like if you had shown up to a Cuddle workshop, we're going to do it together this week. All right. So before we get too far, make sure that you share the video. If you share it with your favorite sewing peoples, then we will enter you to win. And at the end of the show, we will choose a winner. And that winner will get a beginner box, which is a fabulous kit that has 3 one-yard cuts and lets you make 6 different projects and really learn how to work with Cuddle in a lot of different ways. So we will give away one of those at the end. A few weeks ago, we were at Sew What's New and Yarn 2 in New York, and it was really fun because the person who won that day was in the audience. We didn't have an audience today, so it's going to be one of you. Okay, so we're excited. All right, so you ready?
Yes.
Okay, I think we did everything we needed to do for the beginning. So let's.
Have we shared the video? Did we do that? We said that. Okay,
yeah.
Then we're good.
Then you're gonna win.
Yep. We're
here in Maine.
We did it.
I think it's good. All right, so we're gonna do the My Lambie kit, which is a fabulous little kit. It's a little playmat. And it is one that has been requested a lot of times because it's a little bit more complicated. It's all these different pieces. So we're just kind of going to work through it together. So let's do the ingredients list and talk about that, what you're going to need. Okay. So what you're going to need is obviously the My Lambie Playmat kit. And then you're going to need the 9014 stretch needle because we're working with Cuddle fabrics, polyester thread because we're working with a knit fabric, felt tip marker or a ballpoint pen. You're going to want to have a rotary cutter and mat, or some of this. We'll talk about the cutting of it. Also, a craft knife is great, or micro serrated scissors. And I'm using them from Karen K. Buckley today. A long flower head pins, of course. I like the heavy duty ones from Clover. Fabric clips also from Clover that'll help when we're sewing these thick seams. Stiletto and pressing tool from by Annie. You'll also want to have a hand sewing needle, some basting spray, and of course we're using the OD 505 basting spray. You want some polyester batting. We're going to use a couple of different kinds. We'll talk about that, as well as polyester fiber fill, which is just stuffing. So, and we'll need just a little bit of that. So we're going to have a wide variety of things. We're not going to go through all of them today, but we will go through a little bit. So if you don't have a kit, you're going to need to get one. You can come back and watch this video later. It'll be available on YouTube as well as the next 2 shows so that you can get the whole thing. So if you haven't ordered it, there are a few shops that have it available. They are, let me see. It's going to put them up for me so I can remember. Come on, Michael. Where can they find the Lambie kit?
There we
go.
go.
At oldalleyquiltshop.com. So Old Alley, we taught there last summer. So we got oldalleyquiltshop.com has them. Patchwork Plus Quilting in Dayton, Virginia has them. Bobbin and Bolt in Richmond, Virginia has them. And So Much Love Texas in Granbury, Texas. So those are all shops that we've taught at some point. And I checked yesterday and they all had them in stock on their website. So pick one. If you can't, you can Google it and try to find it. I'd love it if you bought it from one of the local quilt shops who's supported the education as well. So go find yourself a Lambie kit and then we're going to get started. All right. Okay. I think we're good. Y'all can hear me okay? We're doing all right with that? I think
everybody's fine. Yeah, we're all doing great.
Okay, great. So we're just going to open up the kit. We're going to start from the beginning. I'm not going to go through all the cutting, but we're going to talk about it a little bit. Okay. So the kit contains all of the fabric that you're going to need. So you will need to buy some batting and some other things, but we'll talk about that when we get there. All right. So here is the kit. So this is what you get is this huge hunk of llama. Okay. It's a lot of llama. I don't even know how much it is exactly. It's a lot. 1 1/3 yard. All right. So this is a bunch of llama. People have asked about working with that. So if you've been really curious about it, this is what we're going to tackle today, which is definitely one of the, I don't know, puppier cuddles. So this is a little bit different to work with, both for cutting and for sewing it. Okay. So you're going to have the llama. I'm just going to stick these down. Here we go. Okay. So just because it's so big, you're going to have a couple other fabrics. This one is the beige, and you're going to use this. And you're going to find, let me see. Let me get the paper that shows you, because this tells you what you need in what you have in your kit, what you're going to need. All right. And then we get over here. This is what it's going to tell you. So these are all the pieces that you're going to cut out of the llama. These are all the pieces you're going to cut out of the beige, which is this one here. Okay, so there's 2 of them. If we can show these 2. So you can see one is lighter, one is a little bit darker. All right, this is beige, this is natural. The only thing that you're going to cut out of this is the belly. All right, so the belly is this. The belly is the light one, and the beige is the face, the hooves, the ear, all sorts of stuff. Okay, so those come in there. Oh, I almost forgot. And in here somewhere, if we can find it, there's a little hunka. Come on. Oh no, there it is. Knew it's just hiding in here. Okay, so then we have a couple other pieces of fabric. All right, those are for the heart on his stomach, on his belly, his little heart there. So cute. Okay, that's what this is. And this one is for his nose, face, eyes thing. All right, it's in a plastic bag, and they should all come that way because the black can sometimes leave a little faint mark on the other. So that's why it's in this bag. What I will tell you is save that little bag, because then what you do is when you cut out all those pieces, you have a little place to put them. Okay, so double dip on that one.
Reuse, renew, recycle.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to want to keep those so we can do that. So those are all the pieces you're going to have. Like I said, it shows you in here what you need from each of the pieces. And then you get this big pattern hunk in here. So I'm going to open this. Oh, wait, I have paper scissors.
Hawk's paper scissors.
Hawk's paper scissors. It's like, did I really not bring paper scissors? But I did bring paper scissors. So this is the way your pattern comes, with all of the information on how to put it together. And then this big pattern sheet. Okay. So I want to talk about this real quick, because all of these pieces are. All right, so these are all the pieces that are listed out in the pattern that'll tell you what to cut on each side. You're going to need to make sure that you transfer all of those markings over. There are a couple that are less important. We'll talk about those, but make sure especially that you're transferring like the ear placement, the leg placement, the centers, because you're going to use those to match everything up. All right, so here's our whole piece. The other thing is that you'll notice that I've got my body piece here, and then I've got a whole bunch of pieces in the middle.
Oh, I see that. Yep.
So if you cut all these out, all of a sudden you've got a very holy belly piece. And it's really floppy because of this. So let me show you what I suggest you do. Okay. Also, the other thing is that there's 2 ear pieces. You only need one. Just reverse it, flip it over. So one is one way, one is the other. But you don't really have to use both pieces. Just in case that confuses you. Okay. All right. So let me put this stuff away, and I'll get my own pattern out that I used so I can show you what I did. All right, so here's my pattern pieces. Again, another little baggie helps a lot just to keep everything kind of organized. So what I like to do is I like to trace them out, and then I just put them in here as I trace them, and then they're all together at the end. All right. So what I did is I took my belly piece and I traced all of these pieces that were on here onto other paper. Okay, so this is just an 8.5 by 11. You can fit his face on there if you put a little cockeyed. All right, so what I did is I copied this, and then I used this, which is this, we got it at just an office supply store, and it's just like a laminating sheet. Is that what it was called?
Yes, a heatless laminating sheet. So basically, it's just a big piece of sticky tape.
Yeah, it's great. And so all I do is put it on here, and then I can cut it out, and this becomes a little bit heavier because this is nice not cardstock, but it's thicker paper, thicker than the regular stuff that comes, you know, for your printer. So that's what I did. Put it on there and made my own more solid pieces. Okay, and I did that for all of the, like the nose and what. Let's see if I can find my little. Nope, not easily.
Yeah, it's for once we're actually dealing with a full-size pattern. You don't have to enlarge it or anything.
Nope. So
awesome.
This was the one that I did. I traced it out. You can see the shiny on it. That's that little laminating. And then I actually, we'll talk about this later, I cut out the pieces for placement. Okay, so this was my pattern that I made from here rather than cutting it out, because I just made my own. So you'll want to do that with all of these pieces, including the nose and eyes, the heart, the front leg, and the hoof. So those will all need to be separate things. Then what I do is I actually just cut 1/2 of it. I trace 1/2 of the belly at a time, and I leave it hooked all together so I don't lose it. You could absolutely take some pattern paper or some Swedish tracing paper and trace out the belly pattern as its own pattern as well. And I would suggest that if you have that available to you. I live in an RV. Not everything is super available to me. So I just cut around it. I don't suggest that you cut the whole belly out though, because it makes that outer piece less workable because it becomes very floppy. So it's hard to keep it exactly where you want it to be. So don't cut it all the way out. All right. Okay. And if there are any questions, I forgot to say this at the beginning, but if there are any questions, please do ask. All right. And Hawk will share them over.
You got it. Hey, I think honestly, if you want to know where we got that sticky paper, it was in like a package of 50 or something over by the printer supplies over at like an Office Depot or Staples or something. It was pretty convenient to acquire that.
Yeah, and it was just an office supply store.
Off the shelf.
Off the shelf. Yep, exactly. Nothing special. So I do want to show you one thing in here that confused me, even though I had a large part in the pattern making of this. This was one thing that confused me, and it's something I've asked or answered questions about before. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. So if we come down here, we're going to start here. So place back leg here. We need to transfer these marks, obviously, because this is where the back leg goes. But what the heck are these 2 little lines right here? This should really just be a notch. Okay, so this is just a matching tool that comes and matches with this piece here. Okay. So this little notch or this little mark right here matches to here. So the question often is how do I know which way the leg goes? That's how you do it. Okay, so transfer those marks and put them as notches. So that's what I did, is I just changed them. Show you.
Was the pattern bold enough that with thin printer paper, you just laid it over and you could see the lines through it?
Yes.
It didn't require a light table or anything like that, though you could certainly tape everything to a window.
Totally, and it would be super easy to do. Yeah, if you have a light table or anything, you can absolutely do that. Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's great.
All right, so this is what I'm talking about here is I just took those 2 lines and I made it into a notch.
Oh, yeah, got it. Just as a point of clarity.
Because that was easier for me to understand that I was matching up the notch to the notch on the body than it was for me to do those 2 little lines. So that's just how my brain works. It might be for you too. So I'm just sharing that. That's actually a marking. So when I originally saw the pattern, I was very confused by those extra 2 lines and I thought that there had been a misprinting. Turns out there wasn't. It's just a notch. Okay. All right. Let me get things put back where they're supposed to be. I lost my pattern bag already. There it is. I always need like 4 more tables. I'm like, we don't have the space to do it. But...
Or another hawk to pay attention to where you threw everything. Let's see if I can do my job better.
Someday I will not just throw everything on the floor. Okay, so I've got my pattern pieces. I'm going to put these away. Okay, so we've got our pattern. We've got our fabrics. We've got our pattern. We're going to cut out all of those pieces, and then we're going to trace them according to the instructions on there. Some of them need to be cut out in 2 different fabrics. I think I remember correctly. The only one that we do that with is the ear. And you're going to need one that is a llama and one that is an inside of the ear, which is a Cuddle beige.
For each ear.
For each ear.
Yes.
So that pattern you're going to flip it. And the same thing is with this one. This one is you cut 4 and then you reverse it. So you cut 2 this way and 2 this way. All right. So you want to make sure because you're going to have 2 legs. So this little marking on there is going to match with that leg marking when we're done. Okay. So the reverse of it and the regular. All right. So that's important to note. Okay, so cut out the pattern, trace it all out on the appropriate things, cut them out. So let's do a little bit of that. Let me show you how that works. Okay, so I've got a little bit of the llama here. I did all the other cutting out and some of the sewing. So we're going to be hopefully ahead of the game. All right, so llama is a weird one, and I say that with all the love because the nap is so thick. It's not like any of the other luxes, really. It's really thick and weird, but I love it, and it's super squishy and yummy. So if you pet it, it's so good. So if you pet it this way, you can see it kind of flops down. If I pet it this way, it stands straight up. So that's how I know the difference in which way the nap goes. All right. So that's the first step is to figure out which way the nap goes. Is it going to be a big problem if you mess that up? No. Do I suggest that you try? Yes. All right. So I'm going to draw a little arrow that my nap goes that direction because that's what I just checked. Goes that way. Arrow goes that way. That way, when I go to put my pattern on, I know my nap is supposed to go this way. My nap is this way. We're good to go.
That's what those big arrows are for.
Yes.
Those are nap direction arrows.
Those are nap direction arrows. All right. So on every single one of the pattern pieces, it shows you a nap direction. I suggest that you do it. The easiest way for me to do it is to keep track of it. So usually what I'll do is on that big piece that I have, that 1 1/3 yard piece, I'm going to mark on there which way the nap goes, and then I'm going to lay out all the pattern pieces. I really recommend that you trace out all the pattern pieces first and then cut them out, just in case you decide to get a little spacey with the patterns and you run out of room. This one was fine. I had plenty of this left over, and I have a nice square of the beige left over and plenty of the other as well. Okay, so you have plenty of room, but I still recommend tracing it out first. So all we're going to do is just trace around this with my pen. Okay, I'm just holding it in place. I'm not going to pin it. If you have something that you can, weigh it down with, you can do that. I don't suggest that you pin it though, because pinning it will distort things. Okay, so I'm just touching it as lightly as possible and doing everything carefully. Okay, then I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna mark my little notch right there. That's when I know that I need to line up. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. So when I was originally cutting, because I love my blade, so this is the Olfa SAC-1. This is what I was using. I recommend that you use this or some scissors. Okay. I'm going to show you with all the variations. So this is the rotary cutter, which needs a new blade in there, but you can see it cuts all of this stuff off.
And with the longer nap, the rotary cutter really has a tendency to make a lot of offcuts.
A lot of offcuts. So it's going to be really messy. All right. So you can do it if you want to. The nice thing is it cuts off the edge here. That works fine for this side cut because all of the nap is going this direction. If I cut it off here, it cuts off the bottom edge of this. So any of these long ones will now have a haircut.
Got it.
So that's why we don't recommend a rotary cutter with it, is because it will just chop that right off. So let me just show you down here. I cut a line with it. So it leaves a huge mess, but you can see how much it's cut off of the nap that's hanging down. And then it gives that just a weird little haircut. Okay, so these are now like weirdly short and will stick out funny when you have it in your seam allowance, when it comes out of your seam allowance. It'll no longer be these fun little points. It'll be these weird, we call them bangs. Okay, so you can do it with a rotary cutter. This will be the result. I did it first with the Olfa SAC-1 blade, which I just drag along back here.
Pushing just hard enough to cut the backing fabric and not all the way through.
Yep, except I'm gonna, oh, come on. This one, of course, doesn't have my little.
Oh, it doesn't have the back piece on it. Oh, look at that. There you go.
Okay, find that in there. All right. So I'm going to drag it. So yeah, just pushing hard enough to cut the backing fabric and try not to cut too much of the front fabric, the nap fibers up there. Okay. So you can see how much gets left. So when I cut it with the rotary cutter, all of that got chopped off. Okay, so that's kind of like an interesting comparison, is that when you use the rotary, all of that gets chopped. So leaving it long, it makes it so that all of these fibers will be right now. Okay, so I also found, so I found that that one kind of made a little bit more mess and I ended up losing more if I pull them, which didn't make me super happy because I didn't like cleaning it up. That was really the biggest reason there. But if I use the scissors and I can get right underneath the backing fabric, it's a little bit slower, but it does get just the backing fabric.
So snip, 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 short little snips.
Exactly. So, yep.
And those are the micro serrated. Those are Karen K. Buckley's.
Exactly. So these are the Karen K. Buckley micro serrated scissors. I have a few others. So like these are my Femores, which I really like too. They have nice big handles and they're going to work just as well. And I just kind of snip it right along there. And then when I pull this apart, I'm just going to pull it. Okay. So there we go. Now this is where it gets a little bit funky and you're going to have to kind of look past the fact that there's a whole lot of fuzz on the outside of things. And yeah, get used to it. I just realized I cut this and I don't know if I cut the right. I was supposed to cut it reverse or this one. We'll see. Okay, so what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write on here.
Whoopsie. Back. Maybe.
I cut an extra one, so I have all the pieces.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to write on it back leg, and all of my pieces will look like this. Okay, so I wrote on the back of everything, just like this. All right, I just used my little Sharpie pen, wrote on it. None of these have any issues. I would not write on the back of the natural, which is what you use for the belly. The only marking I did for that, if I can find it, is little bitty marks to mark the edges.
Very small, and that will get hitting in the seam allowance.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so that one can tend to show through a little bit more if you're using the big black Sharpie pen. Sometimes you'll be able to see it on the other side. So I would not write belly in the middle of that because it will likely show through. Okay, so I just have little marks for my center. I know what that piece is. I only have one of them. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. All right, so let me put that back. Then I've got my back leg. I'm going to cut out all the other pieces. When you're doing anything with the Cuddle 3, I just used my rotary cutter, which has a little flip in it. So I just use my rotary cutter and cut these out. All right, you can use scissors for that as well. Yeah, I have a new blade.
Right.
Just because I did all that cutting and just kept doing it. I was like, I need to replace the blade. So there we go. So cut out the Cuddle 3, the flat stuff with the rotary cutter. Cut out the Llama with the scissors. That's what I would recommend, or the blade if you're comfortable with that as well. There's a lot of curves with that. The other thing we didn't really talk about is that this backing is very different from this backing. Okay.
This doesn't have something written on the back of it. What is
It doesn't.
this?
It's an ear. I know.
It's an ear? Okay.
See, this one does, and it matches. Look.
Okay.
See? Okay. There we go. We'll put those two together and you can see the backing. The backing is very, very different. So let's see if we can get it to focus a little bit. So do you see the kind of, it looks a lot more knit or something.
Mm-hmm.
It is also stretchy in a couple, like it doesn't really stretch this way, but it stretches like on the bias. So it doesn't stretch lengthwise at all, but it is just a little squirrelier than this. So this one, I feel like it doesn't move as much. Okay. So just be aware that this is looser. Okay, for lack of a better word. And it's because the backing. So if you get familiar with the backings on the various different cuddles, you'll be able to see the difference between them and how they work. All right. So there we go. So we got everything cut out. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to trace our pieces.
By the way, we'll see you in 3 hours.
Yeah. Yes. So it's going to take a little while to do all of that.
Pause. Come back later.
Exactly. What did I just do with my little envelope? There it is. Okay. So this is the one that has the uncut pieces. So what I would do with this is you're going to go ahead and trace onto the Pellon, the Shape Flex.
Wait, does that comes in it? With the
no,
with the kit?
No, you're going to need to buy this. It's just a little bit of this is a single-sided. In the pattern, they do call for a double-sided fusible. I use the Pellon, the single-sided woven. This is what I prefer. And then we're going to actually use the the OD 505 to adhere it instead of trying to iron it into place. So in the pattern, it talks about ironing it in position. We're not going to. So follow the instructions here instead. So then what I do on here is I'm just going to trace my pattern onto the SF-101. And then I'm going to iron that onto the back of the fabric. All right. So I trace this on here. Then I cut that out and ironed it onto here. And then we're going to cut that out.
Okay.
All right. And that's what I did with the eyes as well. So I'm going to go ahead.
With these smaller pieces, adding the stabilization.
It just helps it to stay a little bit nicer and crisper.
Okay.
So one of the things too that I noticed is, so when I'm doing this, I would recommend that you use a very fine pen. I just wanted to use all the stuff that I had. It was right there, easy. So I did it with my big black pen. I will show you if I cut it on this side of the line, you're going to be able to see that black edge as I'm doing the top stitching on the applique.
Oh.
So what I recommend is that you use a finer pen and then you cut just to the inside of that line. And that will cut off all of that marking.
It's good to know that this piece isn't going to have a seam allowance that stuff gets hidden in.
Exactly. So it's just the raw edge sitting right there. So the same thing goes with the belly, is when I trace that out, then I cut it on the inside of that line so that I could avoid having any black line on it. The other thing that you could do is use like a heat salt dissolving. Is that what it is? Heat dissolving pen.
Like a friction.
Like the friction pens. You
Gotcha.
could use those, and that would come right off. Okay, so get some of that Cuddle dust off. All right, and then we have a little heart. Easy peasy. All right, now because it has the SF-101, it is a little bit more stable, which is nice, and we're going to keep this in the bag along with the other ones. The other little trick I wanted to show you is these eyeballs. These you can cut them so that the black shows, and in fact, I'm going to cut that little bit of white off because the white will show. Okay, so this works really well to trace it with a black pen because then the edges are black. Which works nicely.
Oh, got it. Because otherwise you might see the SF-101 around the edge.
Right, then you'll see just a little halo basically of white around the edge. It's also the size of a dime. So for me, I find that cutting that little bitty pattern out is really hard to get it into a circle. So just use a dime, trace around the dime, make yourself an eyeball. Okay.
Got it.
Okay, so I'm going to stick the eyes and the nose, which I have in here.
That tip is money.
Yeah, isn't it?
Wah, wah, wah.
All right, so here's my little nose. Here's another little blip where my rotary was not behaving. Cut that off. So here's my little nose ready to go. Also has the SF-101.
Also has all kinds of little markings all over it.
Well, that is actually just Cuddle
Okay, so 2.
Has 2 little markings. So if
Right,
this is this is the center, and you'll want to mark that because we're going to use that later as well. All right. So get those, tuck them away. You're also going to want a little piece that we're going to cut a. Let me find the measurement. I think it's 1/8 by 5 inches or 3 inches or something. Let's see. Boop, boop. Cutting, prepping. Here we go. So we're going to use the ash. It's an 1/8 by 1 or by 1/8 by 3 inch piece. So what I'm going to tell you to do is get a piece that is, you know, a nice little hunk like this. We're not actually going to measure the 3 inches now, but we are going to do an 1/8 inch. We're going to do this, I think, tomorrow. So we're going to do the nose. So leave this until you actually are going to sew that part. All right, just have a hunk. Put it in there.
Because you're not stabilizing that one.
Nope. And we're going to do something kind of funky with it. So
okay.
Okay.
Don't work ahead.
Don't work ahead. So I'm going to put that aside. We'll deal with that when we get there. All right. Okay.
Overachiever warning.
Okay, so let me get rid of my mess here. Like I even have a little garbage bag, even though we're out on the porch.
Well, it is a
contained
porch.
It's true, and you know they were nice enough to let us use their space here. I'd like to keep it neat.
Yes.
All right. So there we go. Okay, garbage is taken care of. My patterns over here. Okay, so we've talked about all. I think we've talked about all the pieces.
All the cutting.
Okay, so now you should be able to have everything cut out except for that little nose, that little 1/8 inch piece, which seems ridiculous, and I know it. We'll show you how to use it later. It seems so weird, like in the pattern, I'm like, well, 1/8 of an inch, but it did work very well. Okay.
The alternatives sound like a whole lot of hand stitching.
Yes, and this is actually super good and useful in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
Cuddle dust. Let me put this stuff away here. So now I've got my pieces. So we're going to pretend that all of the pieces were just cut out now. So yeah, we'll see you in 3 hours. Come back. Now you got your pieces cut. All right, so we're going to start sewing. We're going to start with the legs is what we're going to do. So we have front legs and we have back legs. The difference with those is the back legs have that little, they shoot up basically. Okay, they're not squares. The front legs are rectangles and the back legs have the little, what do you call that? Like a little line, like the line, it isn't rectangle.
I think it's a trapezoid,
Yeah,
but not, but maybe. It's been a long time.
Up. I don't know. It's not square or rectangular. Okay, so we have this piece and I've got all my pieces. So you're going to cut 8 of these guys. It's a lot of them. What I suggest that you do is you put them out in pairs. So when you've got all of you, you're going to make 8 of these guys. All right, because you have 4 legs that each have 2, which means we have 8.
So yeah, got it. So 4 legs front and back. Yes.
So it starts to feel like you have way more legs. You're like, how many legs does this lamb have? It really only has 4 and you're going to be fine. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pin these together. So this pattern uses everything as a 1/2 inch. That's the way we're going to sew it together. But if you have never worked with the llama Cuddle or some of the others like Shaggy, you can see there is a whole lot that hangs out on all the sides. So you just have to get past the point of that bothering you. Okay. And some people have a harder time with others than others. I do not. All right. So I'm going to make these go right sides together. All right. Oh, I didn't explain. This is the hoof part. The hoof part always goes at the bottom. So if I've written what it is, which you can see, you cannot see from this side. Okay, then I know the hoof goes at the bottom. So they're all going to be positioned like this. And then I'm going to start pinning them together. All right, and I'm going to pin. So you can see the way I folded it, I shoved that llama underneath. So it's down in here. And I'm going to pin there. Come over here and I'm going to slightly curl some of that underneath.
Thanks, Jackie. I slept through geometry.
Were you right about that?
I was, surprisingly.
Oh, good.
It was good to have some corroboration.
Yeah, it's nice. Okay, so then I'm just going to keep tucking some of this in because I don't really want it hanging out the edge. All right. One of the reasons for that is I want to not have a messy edge to sew. The other part is I want all of that nap in here so it'll pop out when I'm done. All right, and if it gets stuck up in there, it's not going to pop out. Okay. So I'm going to push it down. I'm going to be really kind of gentle with it and pinching it a little bit. and just pinning as I go. Okay, I'm going to do some double pinning here to get it to flatten down. That's really what I'm worried about more, is getting it flat as I'm sewing. Okay, so first and last ones I did perpendicular, then I'm going to do some edges here, and I'm going to try to just, you know, pin it like crazy on these because it likes to be so puffy. So if I pin it here and I kind of pin it out, you can, maybe you can see how much puffier it is over here.
It gets wild.
So I am just keeping this as flat as possible.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my whole point. So, yep, come on around. Let's see if we can get this baby to sew. All right, there's
wind chime.
Stiletto. So I've got my stiletto. I'm going to use that the whole time. So this is my stiletto from by Annie. It's the precision stiletto and
pressing tool.
And pressing tool. Thank you. Precision stiletto and pressing tool. And you can get them from by Annie. You can also get them from your local quilt shop. A lot of quilt shops carry them now. So ask for them. And if you have to order it direct from by Annie, go right ahead. She sells them. So they are fabulous.
It is not like other stilettos. There are things about this that make it ideal for working with Cuddle.
So one of them is I can put it down and it won't just roll off, which is great. The other thing is that it has a sandblasted tip. So this part is not shiny. It's actually sort of worn down a little bit, but it makes it grab the fabric really nicely. It also has a really good point that I can do all sorts of things with. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick this in. Like I said, we're doing it at 1/2 inch seam allowance.
What do we got as a stitch length?
Well, we're going to fix that. So we're going to make it as a 3 stitch length.
So straight stitch.
So straight stitch, 3 millimeter. All right, this isn't going to get a ton of wear and tear on those seams, so it should be absolutely fine at 3. I'm going to go ahead, put it in, back stitch a little, and then kind of move it forward.
So for those of us who just got here, so you don't start right at the edge.
Yep. Yep. Did you hear that? I was like, something sounds weird.
What happened?
I don't know. This is the joy. As we get to problem solve on the fly. Remember how I cleaned out the machine so it would work better?
I do remember that.
All right, let's check it out and see what's happening down there. Okay. See if I can get this all right back in the way that it's supposed to have it. So yeah, my machine was super dirty this morning, so I cleaned it all out.
I can't imagine how that happened.
I don't know, it's a lot of sewing. Okay, I'm going to rethread the top as well. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to clip my thread up at the top. I'm going to pull it out here. I'm going to go ahead and wind this whole thing. So you should always clip your thread from the top to pull it out. Don't pull it back through the tension discs backwards. It's not good for it.
Oh, that's exciting. It said a malfunction has occurred. Turn your machine on and back off again. And here we go.
So I did. And now I'm going to see if I can thread it. The upper 3 not be threaded right. Okay, we're going to do it again. Sorry, guys. This is what, I try to get ahead of the game.
Oh, and yes, she does appear to be using white thread, which is a good match for most of this project.
Yes.
Is that
yep,
something
I would just
you would recommend?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does not. What is wrong? Oh no. Okay, I'm just gonna try to thread it. See what's. Because I know I threaded it right. So let's see. Oh no. We may just have to talk through the rest of it.
There is the possibility that very expensive sewing machines don't like to be bounced around in the back of RVs over and over and over again.
What? I can't believe that. Let's see. No. Oh no. Something got really funky. Oh no, you guys. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna talk our way around that because it's eating in there. Okay, so
one more time.
One more time.
One more time.
Okay.
I believe in us. And by us, I mean you.
Thanks. All right. Let's see. Because it was sewing just fine this morning.
Oh, by the way, just for the record, we're at about we're almost at our 10-minute warning.
Oh, good.
Because we would like to try to keep these episodes at an hour or under, so that they are easily uploadable to
And
Insta,
accessible.
and accessible to
Yes.
Insta. Also, nice, tidy.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's fun, huh? Woo!
Whoa!
Woo, baby.
Whoa!
It's a little bit of thread, huh?
And a whole bunch of short little pieces.
Yeah, because I had to cut it. Remember?
Oh,
I
you
cut
did.
it underneath. That's what that was doing. Okay, so I'm going to take this all apart. So they always, I mean, like the MO is that whatever is happening, just try rethreading it because it usually does solve things. So we'll see, because we have a 3-day event here. We talked about this earlier.
And one machine to get her done.
And one machine to get her done. So I know that I have my featherweight with me, and I know my featherweight will not handle this one. As much as I love my featherweight, I cannot get that foot up high enough to tackle this level of Cuddle. Quite literally this level.
Lorenza Lopez, I see your question. How about try our Facebook group, I Love Cuddle Fabric. And there you will find almost 17,000 people who love sewing with Cuddle, and they're super helpful about walking you through what your project is and what you might need. That is, Teresa started that group a few years ago for Shannon Fabrics, and it has really taken off. And all of our brand ambassadors are on there. They know what they're talking about. There are manufacturers on there that have been working with this product for years, this fabric, and it's a great community. They're awesome.
Yeah,
awesome people over there.
Yeah, if you're not part of it yet, you really have to. All right, we're gonna try it one more time. We'll see what happens. Somebody's like, no, don't forget the bobbin case. I'm really good at forgetting the bobbin case. Thankfully, you really can't do anything if you forgot it. Like, literally, you got to put it back in. All right.
Fingers crossed, because you're basically going to get one seam before we need to wrap up.
Yep. Yep. Sorry, guys. That'll teach me. Okay.
That'll teach you.
Yeah.
That'll teach
Try
us.
it out. Nope, there is something's happening. I'm not gonna be able to do it. Like, did you see how it's catching?
Oh, I did see how it caught.
So I can't let it. It won't come out.
Oh.
So that's really fun. So we might have to go find a baby lock store today.
Somewhere in Maine. Okay. Who knows where we can get a baby lock in Maine? or immediate service.
Yeah, that's
all right. I'm coming back around, everybody.
You just never know what's going to happen. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to sew this 1/2 inch seam allowance. Let me show you what the next thing is. Okay. Because you're going to turn it inside out. We're going to stuff them. You're going to sew this line and then stuff them. All right.
Let's talk about that. There were 2 different ways, right? You did that 2 different ways?
Yeah. Well, one of them I sewed it after I was done. So I did all of these this morning. It was sewing just fine. So I sew it, do it, sew the 2 of them together, and then sew this little line and then stuff it. So technically in the pattern, it says to stuff it and then sew this little line. What I found is that was really hard to get that bulk underneath the foot. So I would recommend sewing the seam. So even though the end of it ends up being a little bit funky because of it, it's a lamb's foot. Who cares? Okay. So it's kind of cute. So you're going to notice that there's 2 different kinds. Can you see the difference between these 2 feet?
Okay. Well, see, this one seems like it has a little bit of pucker, right?
Well, yes.
But I'm not sure that's what you wanted me to point out.
Nope, that's just me not stuffing it quite right. But what I mean is this.
Oh, the angle.
Do you see the shape?
Yes.
So there are 2 different kinds. All right. So this one has a short end, shorter. This one is the same size as this, but they are not the same size over here.
Okay.
So this is your back foot. This was your front foot. So that's the one that we're going to have that mark. All right. That we have here. So this little mark, this is on this side. So what you're going to do is just stick a pin in this side. We're going to come back to that later and make that match because we can't really put a notch here. We can't make any sort of mark that I can see later. So I'm just going to stick a pin in that place. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep that like that. All right. I think we'll have to tackle the ear and stuff tomorrow. I'm going to rip apart my machine, see what I can do.
I'm gonna help. It'll be great. We'll get out everything but the compressed air
tomorrow. So yeah, exactly. No compressed air in your machines. So we'll be back tomorrow morning. Working machine, finish up the project, and we'll go through all the face and all that stuff tomorrow. Okay. So thank you very much. Do we have a winner? Winner chicken dinner? Winner lobster dinners.
Winner lobster dinner.
We saw a t-shirt the other day.
For Linda B.
For Linda B. Thank you very much for watching, for sharing. Thanks for coming along on my crazy adventures. I really appreciate it. And we will get you a kit as long as you message us message us through Facebook. Let us know your mailing address, your phone number, email, all that good stuff. And we will get a kit out to you right away. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same station, doing more on the Lambie kit.
That's right. So together Tuesday on Wednesday.
That's right. And Thursday. All right. So mark your calendar. Be here. All right. Happy sewing.